Namaste, Witchlings. How are we doing tonight? Before we begin, I want to remind everyone of something very, very important. The Cauldron is not a place where we fix ourselves. It is a place where we hold ourselves. So often, we move through the world with the quiet assumption that something about us needs correction. That if we are tired, we must push. If we are grieving, we must hurry through it. If we are angry, we have to soften it. If we are numb, we've got to wake ourselves up. The Cauldron asks absolutely none of that of any of you. If the conversation this week has stirred something, memories rising uninvited, realizations landing heavy in your chest, grief loosening its grip just enough to be felt, or even relief that surprised you, you do not need to resolve any of it tonight. You don't need to understand it or explain it, and you don't need to turn it into wisdom or productivity or even a lesson learned. You are allowed to arrive exactly as you are. Take a breath with me, not a deep one or a cleansing one, just a breath that doesn't ask anything of you. Let your shoulders drop if they want to, your jaw unclench if it's ready. If not, that's okay too. So let's take a breath, breathe in, and let it go. This space is not about performance. It's not about being good at spirituality or calm or evolved or healed. This space is about presence, about being witnessed, even if the only witness tonight is yourself. The Cauldron here is a listening space. Not listening to the world or authority or obligation, expectation or urgency. It is a space for listening to the quiet voice inside you, the one that knows when it is safe to speak and when it is safer to rest. The voice that does not shout, does not rush, and that has survived everything that has brought you here. You don't need to trust this space completely. You don't need to feel safe right away. Safety is not a switch that turns on and off. It's a process. Tonight, we are only asking for enough safety to sit beside yourself without judgment. If your mind wanders, go ahead and let it. If your body fidgets, go ahead and let it. Hi, I'm an ADHD witch. I fidget a lot. If emotion shows up unexpectedly, let it knock. You do not necessarily have to invite it in. There is nothing being demanded of you here. The Cauldron holds contradiction, strength and fragility, hope and exhaustion, certainty and doubt. You don't have to choose one version of yourself to bring forward tonight. All of you belongs here, even the parts you're not proud of, the parts you don't have language for yet. As we step into this time together, let the intention be simple. Not transformation, clarity, or answers. Just honesty, presence, and the willingness to stay. The fire does not judge what you bring to it and only offers warmth. And for now, that is enough. Now, we are talking tonight about remembering who you are and returning your authority to yourself. Okay? We are reclaiming agency, untangling the external voices, and listening to our inner authority. So, with that said, let's get going, shall we? We shall. When we talk about inner authority, it is so easy to imagine something loud or forceful, a decisive voice, a clear command, a moment of certainty that cuts through confusion like a blade. But inner authority is rarely dramatic. It's subtle, quiet, and it's often felt before it's understood. Inner authority is not the voice that shouts. It's the voice that remains when the noise settles. Most of us here, especially those of us that are born female, most of us were taught not to trust that voice. We were taught to defer to expertise, to hierarchy, to productivity, urgency, to politeness, to survival. We learned to override our instincts in order to be safe, liked, useful, and acceptable. Over time, that overriding can become so automatic that we forget there ever was another option. Inner authority doesn't disappear when it's ignored. It just gets quieter. Sometimes it shows up as tension in the body, a tightening in your chest, a heaviness in your gut, a sudden fatigue that does not make sense on paper. Sometimes it shows up as relief. That exhale you didn't know you were holding when you finally say no, stop explaining, or just step back. Inner authority often speaks in sensation long before it speaks in language. Now tonight, again, we are not trying to fix anything. We are not trying to claim certainty. Tonight, we are simply noticing what it feels like to rest inside our own knowing without rushing it into action. That resting is the practice tonight. This matters because, well, we live in a culture that treats knowing as something that must immediately become doing. If you know better, you should act faster. If you sense harm, you should respond perfectly. If you recognize misalignment, you should resolve it right now. But inner authority doesn't operate on urgency, it operates on honesty. And honesty, my friends, takes time. Inner authority is not a performance of confidence. No. You can be unsure and still be deeply rooted in it. You can be afraid and still be aligned with it. You can change your mind and still be acting from integrity. Inner authority is not about being unshakable. It is about being internally referenced. And externally referenced life asks, what should I do? What will they think? What's expected of me? An internally referenced life asks something much quieter. What do I know, even if I can't explain it yet? Sometimes the answer there is nothing. Sometimes the answer is simply not yet. And sometimes the answer is just discomfort without clarity. Those are still answers. Notice how often your body reacts before your mind catches up. How something feels wrong before you can figure out the reasons. Your gut screams, there's something wrong here. How something feels right before you have the permission to choose it. Inner authority lives there, in that pre-verbal space where your system is responding honestly without strategy. Now, this does not mean that inner authority is always pleasant. Is anything? It's not the same thing as desire or comfort. Sometimes it asks for boundaries that feel awkward. Sometimes it asks for rest when you really want momentum. And sometimes it asks you to stay with uncertainty a whole lot longer than you'd like. Inner authority does not rush you towards resolution. It invites you into relationship. Relationship with your body, your values, and most of all, your limits. Tonight, instead of asking, what should I do? Try asking something a wee bit gentler. What feels true right now, even if it's incomplete? And then take notice of what happens when you don't chase the answer. Does your breath change? Maybe your posture shifts. Does something soften or maybe brace or hesitate? You don't need to correct any of it. Hell, there is no correcting those reactions. Observation is enough here. Resting in inner authority can feel very uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to outsourcing your decisions or, even worse, doubting your perceptions. There can be some grief there. Grief for those times that you didn't listen, or you couldn't listen, or it wasn't safe enough to listen. Let that grief exist if it pops up. It doesn't mean you failed. What it means is you adapted. Inner authority is not about perfection. It's about presence. You don't earn it by being wise or healed or spiritually disciplined. You reclaim it by paying attention again and again and again to what is actually happening inside you. So tonight, we are going to practice that reclamation gently. No declarations, no vows, no big decisions. Just the radical act of letting your own knowing take up space without interrogation. If nothing clear emerges, that's okay. Silence is not absence. It's information waiting to ripen. Inner authority trusts timing, including yours. So, for these next few minutes, let yourself rest inside the question rather than chasing the answer. Let your body be the authority on what it needs right now. Let your awareness widen just enough to include yourself. Because you are not broken. You are not behind. You are not missing the point. You are learning how to listen, and that in itself is an act of power. That resting is the practice. Now, my lovelies, the irony of this being our topic tonight when I had to take a day to rest today because that's what my body was demanding. All right, my loves. Yeah, it was this afternoon. I apologize. Yeah. All right, you guys. We are going to bring our attention gently to our body. You don't need to scan or analyze. You don't need to check in with every muscle or name every sensation. Right now, just notice where you're being held. The floor beneath you, the chair or seat supporting you, the weight of your body resting exactly as it is. Let gravity do some of the work for you tonight. Your body has been present for every decision you've ever made, every boundary you crossed, every boundary you wanted to set but didn't, every truth you silenced, every moment you listened, even when listening came at a cost. It remembers, even when the mind forgets. The body keeps a different kind of record, not a story or a timeline or a judgment. It remembers in sensation, in posture, reflex, and in the way certain words make your shoulders rise or your stomach tighten. In relief, in the way relief spreads when something finally stops asking too much of you. Your body has carried you through moments you did not have language for at that time, through adaptations you made to survive, through choices that were not ideal but necessary, and versions of yourself that were genuinely doing the very best they could with what little they had. There is no need to thank your body. There's no need to forgive it or to correct it. Just allow it to be witnessed. Notice if there is a place in your body right now that feels guarded. It's not broken, it's guarded. a place that learned to hold tension because it needed to, or a place that stays alert because it once had to. Notice if there is a place that feels tired, not lazy, tired. That tiredness that comes from long vigilance, from carrying responsibility that was never meant to be yours alone. Notice if there is a place that feels relieved. Relief can be subtle. Maybe it's a small softening or a quiet exhale, or maybe just a sense of being allowed to stop, just for now. You don't need to interpret any of this. There's no hidden meaning you're supposed to uncover, or diagnosis to make, or action plan to extract. Right now, witnessing is enough. So, there is so often we approach the body as a problem to solve, something to optimize, discipline, push, or override. Tonight, we are doing something wildly different. Tonight, our body is not an object. It is a witness, a living archive of our experience. Now, the body doesn't lie, but it also doesn't accuse. It simply tells the truth of what has been lived. If sensation feels intense, you are very definitely allowed to pull back some. You can widen your awareness to include the room, the sounds around you, the steadiness of the ground beneath you. Witnessing does not require immersion. You get to choose your distance. So if sensation feels kind of muted or even absent, that's okay too. Numbness is not failure. It's yet another form of information and another strategy that your body has learned to keep you safe. Nothing you notice tonight is wrong. So, as you rest here, consider this gently. Your body has been responding intelligently to the world you've been in. Even the habits you wish you didn't have once served a purpose. Even the tension you resent was once protective. Even that exhaustion makes sense. You don't need to agree with those patterns anymore to acknowledge that they came from wisdom. Let your breath move naturally. No fixing or regulating, just letting it be what it is. If thoughts arise, let them pass through like weather. You don't have to follow them. Just keep returning to sensation. The simple fact of being here in your body right now. Notice the edges of yourself, where you end and the world begins. Those places where contact is clear. This isn't about control, it's about presence. Because your body doesn't need you to take charge right now. It doesn't need direction or instruction. It simply needs permission to be heard without consequence. If a memory flickers, you don't need to engage it. Let it move through as sensation, not a story. You can trust that your system will offer only what it can handle in this moment. Witnessing creates space, and space creates choice, and choice is where authority lives. But tonight, we're not moving towards choice yet. Tonight, we are staying with witnessing. Let your awareness rest wherever it naturally settles. Maybe it's a place of contact, a place of warmth, a place of utter neutrality. Stay there for a few breaths. Your body has carried you faithfully, even when you were disconnected from it, dissociated from it, even when you didn't listen, even when you couldn't afford to. Right now, there's nothing to prove, nothing to unlock or heal on demand, just this, the quiet, radical act of letting your body be seen by you without agenda. And if all you notice is that you are here, breathing and supported in this moment, that is more than enough. Because your body is still witnessing, still holding, it's still alive. So let that be true. So many of us carry voices inside us that sound authoritative. They speak with certainty and they sound familiar, and they often sound like they know exactly what they're talking about. They tell us what is acceptable, expected, right, and what will keep us safe. These voices, they can be loud or subtle. Some arrive as direct commands, don't do that. Others arrive as pressure or guilt, or as a tightening in your body when you consider stepping out of line. Some sound like people we know, parents, teachers, partners, bosses, religious figures, or institutions. I know I hear my mother's voice on a regular. Some don't have a clear source at all. They're just there, embedded. And it's important to say this part gently. Many of those voices were not mistakes. Some of them once helped us survive. Some of them taught us how to stay small when being visible was exceedingly dangerous. Some of them taught us how to comply when resistance simply wasn't an option. And tonight, we are not going to judge those voices. We are not going to argue with them. We are not trying to silence them permanently. We are simply creating a little space. Imagine, for just a moment, that you could place these voices outside of you. You're not throwing them away. You're not banishing them. You are simply setting them down, like taking off a heavy coat and hanging it on a hook. They're still there. You can pick them back up later if you really need to. Nothing bad will happen if they are not inside you right this moment. Now, notice what it feels like to do that. You might feel some resistance or some anxiety. Maybe you feel relief, or maybe you feel absolutely nothing at all. You know what? All of that is A-okay. Now, with those voices set just a little bit aside, ask yourself quietly, not as a demand or a test, but as an invitation. Ask, what does my own voice sound like when nothing is demanding my compliance? And don't rush to answer. This question is not meant to produce a sentence or an answer. It's meant to open space. You may not hear words at all. You might feel a sensation instead. Your chest softening or your jaw loosening, a warmth somewhere unexpected, maybe even a sense of easing or even a sense of unfamiliar quiet. That, my friends, is still communication. Your own voice doesn't always speak in language. In fact, it often doesn't. It speaks in resonance, in alignment, in the feeling of yes, no, or not yet, before any justification appears. Sometimes it sounds like fatigue, not because you're weak, but because you've been carrying too much. Sounds about right. Sometimes it sounds like refusal, not because you're difficult, but because something in you knows a line has been crossed. External voices tend to be urgent. They want immediate action, immediate agreement, or immediate proof. Your voice is rarely in a hurry. It knows that safety built on compliance is fragile. It knows that belonging bought at the cost of self-erasure never lasts. It knows things you were not always allowed to know. So if nothing emerges right away, stay with it. Silence, again, is not emptiness. Silence can be a sign that your your system is finally not being talked over. Notice how your body responds when there is no instruction to obey, no expectations to meet, no role to perform. Does something settle? Maybe feel exposed? Or does it feel steadier than you expected? You don't need to decide which voices are bad and which are good. That kind of sorting can come later, or not at all. Tonight is all about discernment. It's about separation. It's about realizing that just because a voice sounds confident does not mean it's yours. External authority often speaks in absolutes. Your voice often speaks in nuance. External authority often demands consistency. Your voice allows for change. External authority often threatens consequences. Your voice speaks in truth, even when that truth is inconvenient. If fear arises and pops up as you sit with this, let it be there. Fear typically shows up when those old systems realize they are no longer in control. And that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Does not mean you're doing anything wrong. What it means is that something is shifting. You are not required to act on anything you notice tonight. I'm going to keep repeating that. We are not taking action tonight. You are not required to confront anyone or make a declaration. Tonight, we are only practicing recognition. Recognition of what is yours, of what was inherited, and recognition of what once protected you and what no longer needs to run the show. Let your breath remain natural and neutral, and let your awareness stay broad and wide. You may just find that your voice doesn't sound like certainty at all. It might sound like a question, or a boundary without explanation, or simply a quiet enough. That counts. Your voice doesn't need to justify itself to be real. So for now, let the external voices rest where you place them. Let them wait. You are not rejecting them. You are merely remembering that they are not the only voices in the room. And as you sit here, noticing sensation, noticing quiet, noticing whatever is present, remember this: the absence of demand is not emptiness. It is space. And in that space, your voice is allowed to exist, even if it whispers. Let's check in with chat real quick and say hi. Oh, we have Icon. Hello, hello. Yes, Maya. Haha. Wait. I saw Liberty. Maya's been busy with school. Hi, I'm finally back. Yep. I see that. Yeah, school does that to you, huh? It kind of takes precedence over everything, including existence at times. Oh, all right. Take another sip of coffee here. My bonus kid spoils me every time I go somewhere with her. She brings me coffee. And it's the good stuff, too. Hey, Hazel. Yes, she's a sweetheart. All right. Want to do that? All right. Oof, da. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Watch this. If you're enjoying this podcast and you would like to take a step deeper into the coven, consider clicking on the join button and becoming a member of this channel. There are some amazing perks for all my witchlings, and there are levels starting at just a single solitary $1 a month. Also, quick little reminder that you can help our channel here for free simply by subscribing and sharing this video with a friend. So do the whole like, share, subscribe thing. Join the channel if you have the financial means to do so. Please and thank you. I appreciate all of your support. You guys are so amazing, and thank you so very, very, very much for tuning in. All right, now, back to the show. We have a very good shoe, very big shoe for you tonight. Very big shoe. You know. Sorry, I couldn't help it. All right. Moving right along. All right. Now, for many, many, many people, reclaiming our agency does not initially feel empowering. It doesn't arrive with confidence, clarity, or even a sense of triumph. It feels unfamiliar, awkward, and it can even feel very, very unsafe. And that can be really confusing. We're taught that agency is strength and that choosing for ourselves should feel bold and decisive. But if your nervous system learned that safety came from compliance, adaptation, or anticipation, then agency doesn't feel like freedom at first. It feels like exposure. And that can be terrifying. Agency, my witchlings, requires presence. And presence requires tolerance for uncertainty. When you're present, you can no longer disappear into autopilot. You can no longer rely entirely on scripts, roles, or expectations to carry you forward. Presence means feeling what's happening as it happens, and that can be deeply, deeply uncomfortable if your system learned long, long ago that feeling was risky. This is why a lot of people resist mindfulness, because it feels dangerous. So, if agency feels shaky or unsettling, that doesn't mean something has gone wrong. What it means is you are touching something real. Again, tonight, we're not asking you to act. We're not asking you to decide, to claim power, or step forward, or even take a stand. We are simply reminding your system that choice exists. That's it. Choice doesn't mean obligation. It does not mean responsibility for everything. It does not mean you must always know what you want when you want it. Choice means that you are not trapped in only one option, even if you don't yet know what the alternatives are. You are allowed to pause, not know, and you are most certainly allowed to change your mind. These permissions may sound incredibly simple, but for so many people, they are incredibly radical. Especially if, like me, your safety once depended on being consistent, predictable, agreeable, or easy to manage. Especially if uncertainty once led to punishment, withdrawal, or harm. Yeah. Agency does not erase those histories. It doesn't demand that you forget them. It works with them. Agency is not about forcing yourself to act differently. It's about letting your system recognize that it has room to respond rather than to react. You have the ability to stop, take a breath, and respond rather than having a knee-jerk reaction. There is an important difference here. Reaction is fast, reflexive. Knee-jerk. It happens when the body believes there is no time. Agency is slower. It includes choice, even when the choice is to do nothing. Agency says, I notice what's happening, and I am not required to move before I'm ready. That, my friends, is why agency doesn't rush. It waits until the body feels steady enough to move. And steady doesn't mean fearless, calm, or certain. Steady means resourced enough. You have enough breath, enough support, and enough space to feel without being overwhelmed. I'm going to repeat that one for the people in the back. Enough space to feel without being overwhelmed. For some of us, agency may show up first as a pause you didn't used to take. A moment where you didn't immediately explain yourself. A breath before agreeing. A quiet, let me think about that, either spoken or even internal. For others of us, agency may show up as rest, as stopping, as choosing not to engage with something that once consumed all your energy. Now, these are not small things. These are signals of safety returning. Agency is deeply tied to the nervous system. When your body believes it has options, it begins to settle. When it believes there has no escape, no choice, no voice, you go into survival mode. Again, tonight is not about pushing yourself into agency. It is simply about letting your system feel what it's like when agency is allowed to exist, even passively. You don't have to use it or claim it, and you certainly don't have to prove it. Just knowing it's there can sometimes be enough to shift something. If fear comes up as you sit with this, just let it be there. Fear typically shows up when old patterns realize they are not the only option anymore. That doesn't mean danger is present. It means the system is recalibrating. If grief pops up, grief for the times you didn't have choice or when choice was taken from you, let that be there too. Agency doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't. It's never going to. What it does is it acknowledges it without letting it define every single moment that follows. Agency is not about control. It is about consent. Consent with yourself, your body, and your timing. You get to decide how fast or slow things move. You get to decide what you engage with. You get to decide when enough is enough. Even now, listening to these words, you still have agency. You can let them land. You can let them pass. You can disagree with me. You can rest. You can drift. There is no one correct way to be here. Now, as you breathe, notice what it feels like to remember that you're not being forced into a goddamned thing. Nothing is required for you at the end of this. No action item, no resolution, definitely no performance. Simply the quiet knowing that you are allowed to choose, including choosing not to choose yet. I love that one. Agency doesn't demand readiness, it builds it. And tonight, our practice is simple. Let your body register that it is not trapped. Let your breath move without instruction. Let yourself exist without proving anything. You don't have to step forward or back. You don't have to decide who you are becoming. Just stay here. Agency is patient, kind, and it does not abandon you if you hesitate. It waits. And it doesn't wait because you are weak, but because it respects your pace. Let that be enough for right now. Whoops. All right, I'm going to touch base with chat, and then we have a little bit of a ritual to do here. Move along like I know you do. Yep. Ah. Okay. Perfect never existed. Oh, I love that, Joram. Perfect never existed. All right. Okay, guys. We have a little ritual here. Real short one. Simple, easy, relatively painless. I say relatively for those of us who suck at breathing. Okay. Now, if it feels supportive, we're going to put one hand on our heart or our belly. I have one on each. And now, imagine a small, steady warmth beneath your hand. This is not power. This is presence. Silently, you might say to yourself, I am allowed to listen to myself. There is no oath required, no promise to keep, no expectation to live up to. This is simply a moment of recognition. Let it be gentle. We're just going to sit here for a minute and remind ourselves, I am allowed to listen to myself. Allow yourself to rest here. Nothing we need to figure out, no insight required, clarity expected, and no takeaway to collect and carry with you this time. If thoughts pop up, let them pass like clouds moving across a wide sky. There's no need to chase them, correct them, or make sense of them. They can come and go without your involvement. If emotions move through, allow them space. Not to justify themselves or to justify their presence, just to move. Emotion is energy finding its way. It doesn't need an audience or a verdict. Right now, resting is enough. We often imagine remembering who we are as a dramatic return, a moment of recognition or a sudden knowing or a lightning bolt of truth. But honestly, remembering is rarely ever like that. More often than not, it's quiet, gradual, and it's so subtle that we don't even realize it's happening until much later. Remembering who you are is not a single moment. It is a process that unfolds at the pace of safety. Your system will not offer you more than it believes you can hold. Not because you're incapable. No. It is not because you're incapable, but because your system is protective. It has learned through lived experience just how much exposure is tolerable at any given time. So, if remembering feels slow or impartial or incomplete, Honey, that is not a failure. That is wisdom. You do not need to hurry it. There is a version of you that exists beneath the layers of adaptation, expectation, and survival. Not necessarily a better version, not a perfected one, just a truer one. And that version, honey, that version does not need to be retrieved through effort. It remembers itself when it's safe enough to do so. So for now, let your body settle in whatever way it wants. If it needs to shift, let it shift. If it needs to be still, let it be still. There's no correct posture for remembering. There is only the experience of being here. Let your breath be natural. There's no pacing, no regulation, just breathing happening on its own. If your mind tries to evaluate this moment right now, am I doing this right? Is anything happening? And am I this, am I that? Just notice it and let it soften. Remembering generally doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need your approval. Because sometimes remembering feels like relief or grief. Or even sometimes it feels like absolutely nothing at all. All of that counts. You may notice a sense of familiarity without a story attached. A feeling of, oh, this, without words. Or just a quiet sense of alignment that isn't demanding action. That, too, my witchlings, is remembering. The self that remembers does not need to prove itself. It doesn't rush to explain, and it doesn't demand recognition. It simply waits patiently beneath all the noise. Resting in remembering means allowing yourself to exist without performing your identity, without narrating who you are, and without deciding what this moment means for your future. Just being. If old stories come up about who you should be, who you failed to be, who you were told you were, let them drift through. They are not enemies. They are just echoes. They don't need to be fought or believed. Now, if nothing surfaces at all, that's a-okay too. Quiet is not emptiness, my friends. Quiet is often where remembering begins. You are not disconnected or dissociated because you can't access something on demand. Random access memory, emphasis on random. You are not lost because the path isn't clear. Remembering does not respond to pressure. It responds to gentleness. As you rest, know this. Nothing about who you are has been erased. Nothing essential has been lost. Even the parts of you that went dormant did so for a reason. They learned how to wait. And waiting is not the same as disappearing. Now, you don't need to search your past. You don't need to map your future out. You don't need to name what is currently happening. Just allow yourself to be held by this moment. If your system wants to lean into rest, then let it. If it wants to stay alert, okay, let that be too. Trust that your body knows how to move toward remembering in its own way. Safety comes first. Understanding comes later, or even not at all. Remembering, my friends, is not a demand to change. It is an invitation to return. It is an invitation to return to sensation, presence, and the quiet truth that you are still here, breathing, aware, and alive. And my witchlings, that is already a form of remembrance. Stay with that one for a few breaths. There's no urgency here, no expectation, and no finish line. Just this gentle truth. You do not need to hurry who you are becoming, because who you are has never left. Rest here. All right, my witchlings. As we begin to close, notice your breath. We're not changing it. We are just noticing it. Notice the space around you, the room, the air, the temperature, the simple fact that you are here. And when you're ready, bring those small movements back into your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Roll your shoulders, stretch if that feels right, or just stay still if that's what your body wants. You're in no rush to leave this space. And now, hear this. You are not required to have everything figured out. You are allowed to trust yourself slowly. You are allowed to return to your own authority in bits and pieces. Nothing we have practiced tonight is meant to be forced or fast. Remembering is not an act of will. It is not something you conquer or you complete. It is something that unfolds gently and patiently at the pace your body knows is safe. And now this part matters, because intensity without grounding can definitely become corrosive, even when it comes from the truth. So, let me remind you of something that exists alongside all of this inner work. Care is not optional. Not the performative kind, not the polite or the passive kind, but the kind that shows up, the kind that stays and protects without consuming itself. The world already carries more harm than it knows how to hold. You are not required to harden yourself to face it. You are not required to abandon tenderness in order to resist what is unjust. Care, rooted, embodied care, is how we remain human without looking away, while still refusing to look away. So let yourself be a steady presence, a point of warmth, and a reminder that connection still exists, even when certainty does not. And while you are doing your own work, resisting, resting, noticing, setting boundaries, unlearning what was never yours to carry, remember to name what matters to you. Tell the people you love what they mean to you, not out of panic or obligation, but out of truth. Time moves quietly, and none of us are promised clarity or completion. What we do have is this moment right here, right now, and the ability to let our care be known. If you take only one thing away from everything we do here together every day, let it be this. You are not incidental, you are not excess, and you are definitely not here by accident. You are loved, you are wanted, and you matter even on those days when you can't feel it or don't feel it. You don't need to know your purpose yet. You don't need to justify your existence. Sometimes purpose is not a destination, it's a relationship. It's a way of showing up imperfectly and honestly for yourself and for others. Now, as you prepare to move back into your evening or your day, wherever you are, carry only what feels supportive to you. Leave the rest here. The cauldron doesn't close behind you. It remains a place you can return to again and again whenever you need to remember yourself. Thank you, my witchlings, for stepping into our cauldron tonight. May your inner voice be steady. May your boundaries be gentle. May your authority return at the speed of safety. I love you guys to bits. I will see you soon. Namaste, witchling.